Sides, totals, and props. We have it all along with three best bets. Welcome into PuckTime, powered by WagerTalk. I am Andrew McGinnis. I have Carmine Bianco and Bryan Leonard with me here. The Montreal Canadiens continue their road trip. They take on the Carolina Hurricanes. We have the Flyers and Vancouver Canucks going head-to-head in Vancouver. And, of course, the game of the night, the LA Kings are in Sin City to take on the Vegas Golden Knights. It is Thursday, December 28th, also known as my father's birthday. So happy birthday, Dad. I know he's not watching, but I wanted to give him a shout out anyway. So, Carmine, how was your night, brother? And what are your thoughts on the Canadiens and Hurricanes game?
Hey, well, happy birthday to your dad, first of all. And why isn't he watching? We need every single like we can get on this channel and on this video, Andrew. So send him a message or give me his number. I'll send him a message. With that said, before we jump into the games, and we got three good ones, and then the fourth game, I'm going to be doing a free play video that will be up on the WagerTalk site in about an hour, hour and a half. I just want to address a couple things real quickly. Yesterday's show, guys, we like to have some fun on the shows, but it is a betting show. And because of that, I want to make sure you guys understand, because there's a lot of novices that will tune in and they're not PuckTime regulars. So sometimes they see some chatter and they might be swayed the wrong way. There's no such thing as locks. There's no such thing as betting the farm on one game. Just practice strong bankroll management and just take it for what it was. I think it was a joke, but we always want to make sure you guys understand bankroll management is the most important thing in this game if you want to do this long term and do it as something that you can make money on and not just have fun with. The second thing, I love the comments we get in our chat. I also like the comments that we get in our videos when they're posted later. The last few weeks, I seem to get the same comment. It's directed at me, and I just want to say something. I may use the word, or I may stutter at times. I may use as I collect my thoughts. Here's something that you guys don't know about me. I'm going to be very personal about this, and then we're going to move on because we need to talk about hockey. Just before I started at WagerTalk, I had a really bad accident, a traumatic brain injury, a couple of days in a coma, swollen brain for 5 months, had to learn to walk again, had to learn to speak again. So if I have to collect my thoughts during a video, I will do so. You obviously don't know this when you make those comments, but maybe this little bit of information will let you know. So it is something I deal with every single day. I damage the white matter part of my brain that wraps the brain. I have migraines every single day for the rest of my life. It'll never change. But I love doing this show. It keeps me distracted. And with that said, Andrew, we got the Montreal Canadiens and the Carolina Hurricanes. Let's talk hockey.
Let's do it. And as I mentioned, this Canadiens team, as you guys know, I follow very closely. They have a big road trip. I believe the road trip they're on right now is the longest road trip of their season here. They find themselves around the plus 215, plus 220 ballpark. We're seeing a minus 265 on the Hurricanes. Minus 1.5 is about a minus 110 there. Why don't we switch things up, Carm, and we'll go to Bryan for his thoughts first on this one. Bryan, welcome into the show, brother. How are you?
I'm doing great. And yeah, people that don't have to realize we're not talking heads. We haven't spent our entire careers in front of television cameras. I've done radio for 30 years. Luckily, or unlucky, that you don't get to see my face on the radio. But yeah, we're not professionals. We do the best we can. And I do the same thing, Carmine. I go back and I watch myself on the videos and I said, why do I keep trying to not say or whatever and think, but that's just the way it is. I'm not a professional and never will be. We're here to make money, and that's what we're all trying to do today. Montreal, Carolina. Over the last 10 games, 5-on-5 play, the Canadiens have a goal for percentage of 52.94, expected goal of 48.36. So they've outscored the opposition 18-16 in 5-on-5 play and actually have a nice 5-2-3 record the last 10 games. And I think there's not too many people out there that know how well Montreal's been playing as of late. You mentioned the trip they're on. This is the fourth game of a 7-game road trip. Going back their last 3 games, they lost at Winnipeg in overtime, one of the hottest teams in the NHL. They lost at Minnesota in overtime, one of the hottest teams in the NHL. And then they beat Chicago, and Chicago pulled off a nice big upset at home last night. So 7 straight games have been played without Montreal losing by more than 1 goal. They're playing well. They've been losing in overtime or they win. Carolina in that same time frame, they have a goal for percentage of only 45.24 with an expected goal of 52.54. So they're underplaying their advanced metrics, while Montreal is slightly overplaying their recent numbers. In 5-on-5 play the last 10 games, Carolina has been outscored 23-19. This is the second game of a back-to-back for the Hurricanes after knocking off Nashville on the road last night. I think Montreal's a live underdog here. I could play them at the plus money, but I like them better at plus 1.5 at minus 110, because we've seen so many games between Montreal. In fact, I believe it was mentioned on yesterday's show before I had to turn it off because if you watched the show yesterday, you may have turned it off too. But Montreal plus the 1.5, minus 110 is the better play. Carolina, a lot of overtimes. They're just not scoring a lot in regulation. Low scoring game here. Give me Montreal plus the 1.5. And I think that gets us to the winner's circle.
And it's very rare to get a team at a price like that, Brian, for the plus 1.5. You know, these days, it's hard to get a number like that. Carm, I've mentioned that I believe Carolina is a buy team, but I also believe that, you know, in order for them to sacrifice some of their defensive play for offense, it has hurt them on the back end. Personally, I like the over in this game. You know, I see Montreal getting into form, playing better, being that pesky team that's so hard to play against, as you've talked about. They swarm teams, they make things difficult, but they still take quite a few penalties. You know, their scoring numbers are up. They're getting more production from other lines and such. But I think this is a Carolina team that's going to get their swagger back. And I think they get a big win yesterday. They hit their team total. They go well over. And in this one in particular, they play so much better at home than they do on the road on a large scale. Maybe not as much this season. But I mentioned yesterday about sometimes the break disrupts momentum. I'm hopeful as a fan doesn't disrupt it, and for Brian, but I do think there might be some defensive lapses for this Canadiens team. I see goals on both sides. I'll lock in the over 6.5 here for my play. What do you have for us, Carm?
I don't mind the over, Andrew. I'm just, I'm sort of going the same way that you guys are going here. I took Carolina yesterday against Nashville. It was a client play, a 4% one. It was awfully close to being a 5% play, but because of the whole travel restrictions, and I talked about that in the plays yesterday and obviously in the plays today. And by travel restrictions, what I mean is the NHL has a mandate that teams cannot fly out on the 26th on Boxing Day. So the travel begins on the 27th. And sometimes, and Brian and I were talking about this before the show, it disrupts a team's plans of guys are in routines. They know when their equipment is loaded. They know when to be there in the team bus, take them to the airport, the whole bit, when they're checking in. You disrupt that. And sometimes it's just tough. But with that said, listen, I think Carolina, I've said it yesterday, I think they're a buy team moving forward. The next couple of weeks, they have a couple of tough games in there, but this is a team that needs to turn it around. And maybe that little break, this little holiday break is the one, because they played extremely well yesterday. And the Carolina team of a few weeks ago, being up 2-0 and then having Nashville score right away, make it 2-1. That's where they buckled, and they would allow that second goal tied up. And then before you knew it, they were down 3-2. They didn't. They came back. They scored. They allowed a goal. They came back and scored again. That's the Carolina team that we remember from last season. With that said, they're returning home. They're in the second of a back-to-back. It doesn't bother me, again, because of the break. Montreal's got Caden Primo in goal tonight, and I get it. Listen, Montembeault is their guy. Jake Allen will fill in. The thing about Primo is he's someone, Andrew, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this one once I'm done, but I think they're bringing him along, but they're also protecting him in a way. You look at his wins have come against teams like Buffalo, I think San Jose, Detroit. or the games that he's played well in. The games he hasn't played well in are against some of the better teams. You got teams like Florida, I think Vegas. 3 or 4 top teams, he's allowed 5, 6, and 4 goals. The only times he's faced very good teams, and these are teams that I believe will make the playoffs. He's allowed 15 goals, at least 4 goals in each one of those games, and it's kind of why I like the team total in this one. Montreal's such a scrappy team, but I have to believe that Carolina gets to at least 4. And the VIG right now, and these move, they definitely move. It's at 155 right now, the Carolina team total, and I think they get the 4 goals here, this one at home. So give me the Carolina team total.
Well, and as Brian mentioned about the advanced metrics, and I've been talking about the month of December, they're number 1 in that category with the expected goals for. So, and you're right, with Caden Primo, Carm, they started off the season by throwing him kind of to the wolves a little bit, giving him New Jersey, giving him some tougher teams, and now they've been setting him up with some easier opponents, we'll say, like Chicago. And now they just decide to throw them to Carolina. So it's very interesting to me because at first I thought that maybe, they're going to trade either Primo or Allen at some point this season. It's not a matter of, if one of them's going to leave, it's just a matter of which one does leave is the way I look at it. So I think it's kind of like a showcase a little bit too. They don't want to just have his game tape be against easier teams. But I do find it very interesting that they go ahead and play, one of the tougher teams, at least, that's supposed to be a great team like Carolina, and they give their youngest goaltender the start here. But should be interesting. Let's get some goals. Let's get Montreal hanging in there, keeping it close for Brian. Carmine gets Carolina 4 goals, and I get over 6.5. That is doable, guys. That is certainly doable. We can cash all of those and make some money that way tonight. So, yeah, I like it. That would be the perfect goals, the perfect score for all of us. Guys, we have a promo code to mention for today. And have to thank Carmine and everybody at the Detroit office for setting this up. It is PUCK175. That is PUCK175. That will take $175 off our full NHL season pass. I believe Carmine had, 4-0-1 day yesterday, 2-0 day for Brian yesterday, including a 5% winner. The boys are rolling. I'm doing sides totals, props, team totals as well. I also plan to have some future plays out before the new year. So, guys, if you want to join us for the entire season and you do not want to just buy daily plays, definitely recommend using that promo code PUCK175. Take $175 off a full season pass. It is certainly a great deal there. Carm, let's go to you for our second game. We have Philadelphia and we have Vancouver. Philadelphia, a team that I've called overachievers, but hey, they have just kept on rolling. And you know what? Their advanced stats have been pretty good. But you know who I think has not gotten enough love, and that's Vancouver. For how they've played, they still don't really seem to get respect from all the talking heads on NHL Network and all the networks we get here in Canada. So what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, someone else who doesn't get a lot of respect, although his name is mentioned a lot, is Thatcher Demko. He's having a very good season with the Vancouver Canucks, and he's right. He should be right in there when we have the discussions about Vezina Trophy winners. He should be right in there because he's having a good season with this Canucks team. And they're playing well. But Andrew, I looked at this game, and again, it's the Flyers have been off 5 days. Their last game was the 22nd. I think Vancouver's was 23rd. I'm assuming they flew out yesterday on that flight from Philly. Obviously Philly to Vancouver, long flight. I want to look at the total here because we saw plenty of goals last night in the NHL. In most of the games, we saw plenty of goals. And normally you would look at this game and you would say, okay, well, these two teams played on October 17th. The Flyers won that game 2-0. How could you possibly look at the over in this game? Well, I'm going to give you a couple of stats from that game. Okay, a few stats. There were, I believe, 72 shots on goal in that game. The Flyers, I think the Flyers 72 or 68, somewhere around there. Flyers had 40 plus shots on goal in that game. The XG number, the combined overall XG number in that game was 6.92. There were 28 combined high danger chances in that game as well too. It was one of the games in which the goalies stood out. The goalies played well. The teams played well defensively. Quite a few block shots as well too, because the shot attempts were high, and it was a 2-0 final. Maybe the score line should have been a little different, and I think it's going to be a little different tonight in that sense. Maybe Vancouver exacts a little bit of revenge and gets a win off that 2-0 loss there. The Canucks are good at home, but I think they've lost a couple games as well too. And the Flyers went into the break, and again a short break, but not looking very good defensively after playing some very good hockey. They lose 4-2 to Nashville. They lose a barn burner against the Detroit Red Wings, 7-6. Andrew, you remember that game? I think it was 6-1 or something like that at one point for the Red Wings, and the Flyers came back. This team has a spine. They're never out of a game. They play extremely well as well too, but then they lose it in OT 7-6. Add it up any way you want. That's 11 goals in 2 games they've allowed, and now they head over to Vancouver, a team that has the number 1 record for overs this year. I think they're 21-12-2. Close to 63% of their games have gone over the total. This one's at 6, not 6.5. Give me the over. Brian Leonard, give me your thoughts.
I think you got a winner there. I'm surprised this line didn't open 6.5. It's sitting at 6 minus 120, and I can't figure out why. This game has as good a chance to go over as any on the board tonight. When you take a look at the last 10 games overall, there's 3 teams that lead the NHL in victories. Philadelphia, Vancouver, and Winnipeg are all 7-1-2. Philadelphia and Vancouver, I made a ton of money on this year. In Vancouver, I've done very well. Winnipeg, I've done very well also, especially playing unders with them. These are teams that are undervalued, even though they continue to win. And I think the over is probably the way to go here. When you take a look at the last 10 games on 5-on-5 play, the Flyers have a goal for percentage of 58.54, expected goal percentage of 51.91. So they're overplaying their advanced numbers, but still controlling play. Even the expected goals of 51.91 means they're dominating play. The Canucks goal for percentage of 64, expected goal percentage of 46.03. They're far exceeding their expected numbers. But if you take a look at the full season, they've done it all year. It reminds me a lot of Boston last year. The Canucks on the season, goal for percentage of 61.54, expected goal percentage of 48.65. So maybe the line has been set based on expected goals as opposed to how these teams have done from the actual goals. And that's probably why we see the 6 instead of the 6.5 here. So you've got a Vancouver team that's overplayed all season long. Philadelphia has been very good. Let me check Philadelphia on the entire season here. 52.21, 52.78. So they're playing basically exactly what they should be doing. But Vancouver's the team that's overplaying, and they're continuing to overplay all season long. This line should be 6.5. At 6.5, I don't have anything great on it, but it's 6 minus 120. I agree. The over is the way to look in this one. 2 teams playing very well, outshooting their expected goals, and I'll look for another high-scoring matchup here.
Let's do it. Let's get some goals here, guys. And I think that you mentioned the 6 versus the 6.5. A lot of it has to do with the goaltending, of course. And for me, when I talk about expected goals and the advanced stats, as Brian, I've been getting quite into that stuff. One thing I don't mention enough is the goaltending numbers. And Samuel Ersson for Philadelphia and Thatcher Demko actually have similar numbers. But if you looked at the advanced goaltender statistics, Thatcher Demko ranks number 1 in the power ratings. And we see number 38 for Samuel Urson. So what does that tell me? That not just him, but I think also Carter Hart, they were making saves that I think that they couldn't maintain. Whereas, a goaltender like Thatcher Demko has not left that number one spot all season long. So we kind of have to believe what we're seeing with Thatcher Demko. But with this Philadelphia team, their goaltenders aren't even ranked in the top 20 as far as all these advanced stats, as far as the goaltender's position is concerned. As you guys know, I've been loving the team totals. For the most part, it's great. You get some plus money. You get a great price. Like Carolina yesterday, I took them from a favorite to a plus price. You get that 3.5 to the over. You get 4 goals. You cash a ticket. However, it did burn me last night because I did end up taking the Panthers team total. They had 2 goals after the first period. Don't get me 2 more, and that's a tough loss there. But Vancouver, when they win games here, guys, typically they score 4. We look at them against San Jose, they scored 7. They win against Nashville to score 5. Chicago 4, Tampa 4, Florida 4, Carolina 4, and they lost against New Jersey, but still scored 5 goals. Vancouver, to me, when I'm betting on them, I want to take the team total. I like this play, like goals as well as you guys here. Minus 115 is that team total. I'm with you guys here. Let's get some goals in this contest. I think that when you see these teams come together, I just can't trust the goaltending. And I think that, Carm, when I look at this Philadelphia team, they've been playing well offensively. It's more so the defense that I think will drop off. Oh, sorry, Carm. I thought you had something to add. I heard something in my ear. I thought you had something that you wanted to.
Yeah, I know. You heard me slacking. I was slacking our fantastic producer, Dan Alexander, Fly Eagles Fly. He's a true fan that he is, and he's cheering for the Philadelphia Flyers tonight as well too. Just cheer that we go over the total, Dan, if you're listening to this right now. And my mic is not muted, so I know that he can hear me. Andrew, listen, before we go to this third game, I mentioned to you guys that, on nights where there's huge cards, I try and make sure that some free play videos are done by all the WagerTalk guys. Buster, Brian does some, Andrew does some, I do some. So you guys get more videos on our WagerTalk channel. Yesterday there was only one, the Leafs Ottawa game that I put out there. I played contrarian and took the under, and somehow it hit. Sometimes you have to hold your nose. I'll be doing the Edmonton one, but this is an interesting stat that Ralph Michaels, and you guys know he's a stat daddy. He sent us this stat, and it's on the game that we're not discussing on today's show, but I'm just going to mention it. Regardless, is the Oilers are big favorites on the road tonight, of course. Away favorites of minus 265 or higher are minus 8.8 ROI since 2020. Not a great number, but the stat that Ralph wanted to point out is the overs in those games are 54 and 28, 66% on the overs when a team is an away favorite of higher than 265 or higher. So I thank Ralph Michaels for that stat. I thought I'd throw it out, and I'm going to include that in the free play video that I'll be doing after the show. Back to you, Andrew.
I'm very curious about the home favorites number there, because I've had success recently with some teams. If they're like minus 250-ish ballpark at home, they usually just like get a lead, park the bus. And so I'm very curious how different that split is for the road versus at home in this, because sometimes it can be a little bit different. I don't know. That's a really strong number though. So I've been betting these unders with these big favorites, but we'll have to figure out what is to come next on that. Let's go to LA and Vegas. Brian, you follow this team very closely, and they're going through some trouble right now. Some trouble in the locker room, maybe some coaching staff issues. The players are going at it with each other. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you know better than me. I've been reading some reports. I've been hearing some things. All I know is there's certainly goaltender problems and defensive problems, but LA, they win last night, but who really cares? They beat the San Jose Sharks. What do you think happens tonight?
Went 2-0 on our plays yesterday and cashed a big underdog, and also won on Florida, but very disappointed with the way that Vegas is playing. I was talking to Carmine a little bit before the show. I can't remember a time that Vegas has been so bad defensively. And a lot of that has to do with the goaltending. Obviously, Aiden Hill's injured, and he's still not ready to come back. They're doing the best they can. Last year, they were able to survive with 4 goalies. This year, I'm surprised they didn't put in their second minor leaguer in to play the other day because Thompson just doesn't have it right now. The rumor is that he's hurt more than they're letting on, but he has not been playing well. And the defense as a whole has been lousy. They were even pointing it out. I watched the Anaheim broadcast of the game yesterday, and they were even pointing out how easy their players could get around the net. And it was like Vegas wasn't even paying attention to them. So it's a whole defensive situation. It's just not the goalies, and they haven't played well. The Kings 6-3-1 run their last 10 games. Vegas just 5-5, and it's hard to think of Vegas 5-5 their last 10 because they've lost 4 or 5 in a row now. So not playing well over those last 10 games on 5-5 play for LA. Kings have a 57.14 goal for percentage, 58.72 expected goal percentage. They've been dominating play, and they've outscored the opposition on 5-5 play 20-15. When taking a look at the Golden Knights, goal for percentage exactly 50. Expected goals of 53.09. They broke even in 5-on-5 play, scoring and giving up 27 goals. There's only 3 teams that have permitted as many as 27 goals in 5-on-5 play the last 10 games, and one of them is Vegas. And that's the key of Vegas is their defense. They do have a lot of good offensive players, but the whole team is based on defense. And if they're not playing defense, they're not winning. They're not covering spreads. And that's the problem we have at Vegas. We also have the problem, and this is the first game back home. They've lost 4 straight games on the road, and they played yesterday. Both teams played yesterday. Game is lined as a pick 'em. I don't want no part of Vegas here. That's telling you that they got the same chance of winning as the Kings do here. I don't see it. The Kings are the better team right now. Their numbers show they're the better team. They want the game more than Vegas does. It's been a pretty good rivalry for the Kings is Vegas, but Vegas, for the most part, San Jose and Edmonton are the big rivals. LA a little bit, but the game means more to LA. I think they get the victory here. Vegas just is not protecting the back end here. So I think either LA wins the game outright, or maybe LA team total will be the way to play this one. They're going with Patera in net. And, he's a typical backup, but I think he's better than Thompson, and Thompson played yesterday. So give me LA to win this one outright.
Bryan, I wanted to ask you what you think the odds might be in this one if this was in Los Angeles, or how much different this is. Obviously, Vegas has been known to have a home ice advantage, and I know you're against them tonight, but how much do you think that plays into the odds here?
Yeah, Vegas. Every year it's been strange. They've either been very good on the road or very good at home, and this is the year they've been very good at home. I think that does have a reason. Well, they opened up as a 125 going into last night, and then because of how badly they played, the line went down to basically pick them. If it was played in LA would be about a 130 favorite. I have no doubt that that's probably the right side, and it's still playing at 130, regardless of where they played, because they're just right now they're the better team. And if you watch these teams play last 5, last 10, it's clear one team is playing with confidence and one team is not. And Carmine talked about some problems in the locker room for Vegas. I haven't read that. I know he spoke to Dave Koken, and Dave told him that there was possibly some things like that. But when you've got a bunch of guys together and they're used to winning, and when they hit a streak like this, there's going to be complaining. And it's just... No, every team runs into that. I'm sure the Philadelphia Eagles are feeling the same way right now in the NFL. They've dominated all season. They dominated last season, and now they're really playing bad. So it's just common sense. When guys are losing, they're a little testy, and normally that's something I want to see. If they played better defense, I'd be interested in it. But right now, they're just so ugly on defense. It's ridiculous.
You might be a fan, but he is not afraid to go against them. Carm, it's definitely the game of the night here. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, Listen, I think Vegas will eventually put it together. They're a good team. They went through something similar last season as well, too. You mean like uh, Shea Theodore, who had his upper body, he had surgery. He's always like week to week. At some point, he's going to be back once the team is full strength. Aiden Hill's missing, of course. And it's like Brian mentioned, Logan Thompson yesterday in the first period allowed 4 goals on 11 shots. When you put your team in a hole that early in a game, you're not going to. Not a lot of teams come back from that. And then there were, I think Brian mentioned, he allowed 5 goals on 15 shots once they scored the fifth one. And it's supposed to be Patera scheduled to go in net tonight. I wonder if Johnny Detroit remembers this. Johnny Detroit's a wrestling fan. Ken Patera. How many of you guys are as old as me? Ken Patera used to be a wrestler. I wonder if this Patera is related to him. He's probably not, but I love the last name. I'm like, it brought back the memories of Patera. Speaking of Patera, 3 starts. He's allowed 4 or more goals in every start thus far. You might want to look at his save props because he got pelted in those games. And the fact that they played last night, I don't think they would pull him even if they were losing. 31 saves, 38 saves, 34 saves in the 3 games he has started. If that saves prop is anywhere in the mid to high 20s, 28, 29, 30, I'm going to take it. I'm going to jump on that. It'll probably be a client play. But I'm looking at the better goalie here, and right now the better team. It's the LA Kings. Cam Talbot and Andrew. I love the nicknames for these guys. Cam Talbot, Talbs, Cambot, T-Bot, and finally Goalbuster. Not Don Buster, Goalbuster. That is the guy's 4 nicknames that they have given this guy. Look at this stat, and let's hope I'm not like the NFL announcers that say this guy hasn't missed within 40 yards and then he shanks it wide right, like Scott Norwood did. 10-0-1 on the road this season for Cam Talbot. His only loss was when the New York Islanders came back from a 2-0 deficit to tie it up and win it in overtime, which broke the Kings' win streak on the road. 1.46 goals against average, 946 save percentage. Forget the 146, which is impressive. The 946 save percentage is absolutely mind-blowing. This guy's playing extremely well. They build off a victory yesterday against the Sharks. They have 5 games in hand on the Vegas Golden Knights right now. This LA Kings team won't be long before they are atop the Western Conference. Give me the Kings minus 110 tonight.
Great info there, Carm. And yeah, not Don Buster, but man, a lot of good nicknames there. And I like when you find those. I'll tell you guys. So I, as many people know, I do some basketball commentary and volleyball play-by-play commentary. And it's so funny to be the jinx. Like some guy will be at the service line for volleyball and I'll be like, he hasn't missed one all day. He has been perfect. And then that one goes right into the net. And the guy I'm working with is like, that's all your fault. That's all your fault. Or same thing with free throws. Like I'll be like, he has been perfect from the charity stripe all night tonight. And then the second I say that, it happens in every sport. And I find it, it's the commentator's jinx, as some people might say. Guys, this game for me actually was my best bet. So I'll get to that in a second, but I want to remind you about that promo code PUCK175. I've got a bunch of props, sides, and totals being released to clients. If you want all of my plays for the rest of the season, take $175 off my full season pass using that promo code PUCK175 to get the best price you possibly can. For me, I'm going to go with the over 6.5 in this matchup. Since the start of December, we have the Vegas Golden Knights ranked number 3 in expected goals for percentage. We have the LA Kings ranked number 6 in expected goals for percentage. And when I look at this matchup, I believe that these teams are both not going to be happy when they enter these games. I know that they played San Jose yesterday, LA, but I do not think they played their best game. I know Vegas will certainly not be happy after the game they played against Anaheim, a horrible start. And we're talking about the backup goaltender here for Vegas, not playing very well. And just really not like he's not playing well. It's just he's not Aiden Hill. He's given up goals consistently. And when these two teams get together with the great power plays that they have, I expect a ton of goals. So over 6.5 is my number here. And I want to make sure I didn't mix those numbers up for you guys. So I will say the Kings are the third best team expected goals for, and the Knights number 6 in December. I'm not sure if that's how I said it or not, but I just wanted to make sure I didn't mix that up. I like the over 6.5 for my best bet here on the show today, guys. Let's get some goals. Carm, back to you. What's your best bet for today?
All right. So, Andrew, 3 plays up in the NHL. One of them is a free play that's on the site right now. So if you head over to WagerTalk, you'll find that free play up there. I'm going to go back to the first game that we discussed, the Carolina team total over 3.5 minus 155. They're coming home. This is a team that I'm going to be buying on, and I'm going to be playing over the next couple of weeks in a lot more spots than passing on them. Caden Primo for Montreal, and yeah, Montreal's a scrappy team, but Carolina can still get the 4 goals in this game. Primo has allowed 5, 6, and 4 in the 3 games that he's played against better teams. And just to name a few, I just want to mention them, Andrew, real quickly. But one was the Florida Panthers, New Jersey, and the Vegas Golden Knights. So when he's faced what I want to consider the better teams, top 8 teams in each conference, he struggled, and I just think they protected him against some good teams like the Sabres, San Jose, Chicago, and then Detroit earlier in the year. This is one where Carolina gets over the team total, so give me over 3.5 minus 155. Guys, you got that great promo there. Brian's off a 5% winner, having a great NHL season. He is. We've got a lot of work to do to catch up to him. I have a 5% play going on Sunday in the NFL. Great season in the NFL. Number 1 at WagerTalk. Carm 30. Carm 30 will get you $30 off a 7-day all access. And with that, I'll throw it over to you, Brian, for a best bet.
We'll get to the best bet in just 1 second. We do have 4 plays up today: 2 hockey, 2 college basketball. On the season, ranking number 3 in net profit in the NHL. The previous 6 years, number 1 in the NHL. College basketball, number 2 in net profit. Been on a tremendous run in college basketball. So 2 college basketball plays, 2 NHL plays. You can get them all right now. Save yourself $10. Normally, the all-inclusive is $39 for the day. Put it out there for $29. So you can get that for the short term, or there's plenty of ways out there. You mentioned a couple of the ways to get longer-term service if you're looking for that. My best bet, we just talked about it, the LA Kings. Something I didn't note in our previous handicapping of that game is when good teams are in a situation where you know they should be giving maximum energy, like Vegas last night, and they don't win, those are reasons to tell me that there's somebody I'm looking to pass on or back the opposition. They were on a 4-game road trip. They go to Carolina, lose that game 6-3. They go to Tampa Bay, lose that game 5-4. They go to Florida, in a game where Florida was playing in revenge for the championship last year. They lose that game 4-2. So you just played what I would consider to be 2 of the better teams in the NHL, an average team in Tampa Bay. Then they play one of the worst teams after having the previous 3 days off in Anaheim, and they fall behind 4-0 before the first period is over with. Something is wrong with Vegas. It could turn at any time. Carmine talked about that. They'll turn this around. But as of right now, there is no reason for anybody to play Vegas in this price range against a team like Los Angeles that is better than them. Second of back-to-back for both teams. Vegas played catch-up the entire night, and LA had a sizable lead after the first period when they were down 1-0. It took a 3-1 lead and coasted. LA's the best bet on tonight's card.
Let's go LA, and let's get some goals here in this one. Guys, once again, Quick reminder that promo code PUCK175 works for all three of us. Save $175 off our NHL season pass. If you are not interested in that or buying plays, please do us a favor. At least hit the like button for us. Show some love. Comment below. Tell us what you like about the video, what you do not like, and tell us who you are betting on for tonight. Thank you guys so much for being with us today. We appreciate it. Wager Talk today coming up at 12 o'clock Eastern time. We'll be back tomorrow.